So this week's theme is looking at renewed in faith, and I don't know what you think about when you think of faith. I always think about these people that I just look at and think, I wish I had a faith like them. You see these people who are inspiring in their faith. They have these awesome stories, testimonies. They just seem to be a rock no matter the season. They just seem to be consistent in their faith, and often my faith can feel like it flows like a tide. It goes in and out, it's up and it's down, and it can be really hard, can't it, when you're in that low season, when you remember the high seasons. But I think God wants us not to go up and down, but to be more on that consistent trajectory, growing deeper with Him, being consistently moving forward and pushing deeper into our faith. And you know, I'm always wanting my faith to be refreshed. I don't want to be stagnant. I want to go after that deeper faith. And one of the stories that always encourages me in the Bible is the parable of the talents. And some of you might be thinking, what's that got to do with faith? Isn't that more about skills and abilities and using your gifts? And that's true, but one angle I like to think of the parable of the talents is maybe if you know the story well, you remember that there's this guy who kind of owns some money, and what he does, he goes away, but he decides to entrust 3 people, his servants, with different portions. He gives one 5 talents, one 2 talents, one 1 talent. He goes away, and while they're away, these 3 servants, what they do, one of them, the guy with 5, he invests his 5 and gets 5 more. The guy with 2 invests 2 and gets 2 back. And the guy with 1 talent, what he does, he just buries it in the ground and gets no return. So when the master comes back, he sees the first guy, and it says this in verse 23, "Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with a few things. I'll put you in charge of many things." He says the same to number 2. And number 1, he calls this wicked person because all he did was bury it. And that's what reminds me of faith. I want to be like the guy who gets good and faithful servant. I want to be like the guys in Hebrews who are their faith is credited with righteousness. And I think one thing we do is if we don't act upon our faith, if we don't share our faith, if we don't dig into our faith, if we don't do all these things around faith, then what happens is we end up burying it and it becomes stagnant, it becomes nothing, and then actually it doesn't go anywhere. And actually that's not what God wants. He wants us to grow in our faith. And one thing I think that helps us grow in our faith, be renewed in our faith, is this attribute of thankfulness, being thankful. Often my faith takes a dive when I think I'm entitled or I think I'm owed something, and then I get maybe a bit frustrated, a bit bitter that I should be having something. For example, maybe it's a certain job. I deserve to have that promotion, I deserve to be in that role, I deserve to be in this job. And then I remember at the moment there's thousands and if not millions of people who have lost their jobs due to COVID, and I can be thankful because of that. Maybe it's a house. I think, I wish I had a bigger house, I wish I had this in my house. But then I remember there's billions of people in the world, there's millions of people who do not have a roof over their head. It can be, maybe I should be eating certain foods, and then I remember that we're not having enough food in our country at the moment, or enough things to do it. There's poverty, isn't there, to be able to feed people who are hungry. And I feel like when I'm thankful for what I've got, it puts into perspective and it helps me with my faith, just to be grateful to God. I remember when I was 19, I went on my first mission trip to India, and by goodness was that a shock to the system. I'm a 19-year-old guy. He just goes over there and sees poverty in a new eye. I see things I've never seen before, and it just put my life into perspective. I can be grateful and thankful of where I am, and that attitude helps me with my faith personally, because it makes me think, I've got all these good things and they've come from God. I can be thankful to Him, and that encourages my faith when I think of that, and I can think of those things. So I just want to encourage you today just to be thankful, think of the good things that are happening in your life, and just be grateful that you've got a roof over your head, you've you've got hopefully some food in your stomach, and you're warm. Now it's getting into winter. So I hope you have a great day, and that your faith will be really renewed this week. That's my prayer, that you have a renewed faith. God bless.